Hey, Wentworth World Entertainment and the Penguin Season 2. Is it going to happen? The Batman Part 2. When is it actually set? Well, Colin Farrell is out doing the rounds for promoting his new movie on Netflix, I believe it is. And obviously the question came up about the Penguin Season 2. And within his answer regarding that, he hints to the time frame of the Batman Part 2. Now, we know that Matt Reeves has said that the idea is for it to pick up shortly after the first movie and the Penguin, because it's meant to be a winter setting, and of course by the end of the Penguin, winter was setting in. So it's interesting to hear what he says, particularly regarding season 2 of the Penguin. So we're looking here and it's saying one of the Batman's biggest selling points was that it would serve as a year 2 story for Robert Pattinson's Caped Crusader, which we know that, because the Batman, of course, was meant to be year 1. So we'd had plenty of origin stories and spent a lot of time with an experienced Batman. So filmmaker Matt Reeves' approach was a breath of fresh air, which it was. You know, the fact that we weren't just seeing him starting out, we were seeing how he navigates and was really becoming Batman. That's another thing that Matt Reeves has said you will delve into, and why he wasn't around in the Penguin was that he was off after pretty much failing at the end of the Batman by Riddler managing to bring the walls down, that he was gone off to reassess everything. So 5 years will have passed by the time the Batman 2 is released, and there's been a great deal of speculation about what that means for the Elseworlds Bruce Wayne. The Penguin was meant to bridge the gap between the Batman and its sequel, and while many fans have wondered if Reeves' movie might jump a few years into the future, it's being confirmed that we're going to remain in year 2. Talking to comicbook.com about Netflix's The Ballad of a Small Player, Colin Farrell was asked about the chances of the Penguin Season 2. So remember, the answer regarding the Batman Part 2 and its time frame comes from this response about the possibility of a Season 2 of Penguin. So he says this, and remember, this is intriguing as well about the Penguin. He says, I don't know. Generally speaking, I have a bit of a negativity bias, apparently. I've been told by various people close to me. So I would say I would bet against, but not by much. I know that the powers that be are thinking of storylines that could justify another 8 hours, because it all goes off Matt Reeves' world. It conveniently worked that the death at the end of the Batman and the devastation within Gotham opened up a power vacuum that then Oz could try and capitalize on. That was perfect for the parallel 8 hours that we had. And then the Batman Part 2 will pick up, a few weeks after the show ended. But I kind of bet against, but not by a wide mark. So it says here then, so when the Batman Part 2 begins, Oz Cobb has only been Gotham's kingpin of crime for a matter of weeks. At most, this means it's been a couple of months since the Riddler's attack devastated the city, leaving Batman to continue dealing with the fallout of the flood. Now, that is interesting, of course, but the two parts there that's interesting is, one, Colin Farrell is confirming that the movie is set just after the movie, or the series, the Penguin series, which Matt Reeves had spoken about, of course, that the next movie would pick up right where that one ended. The interesting part as well is he's kind of saying no, but not by much, to the idea of Penguin Season 2. So he's saying he would bet against it, but not by much. And the fact that he's saying they're already thinking of storylines, that's him basically not saying a definitive no, but not saying yes either. Obviously, because he doesn't want to get people's hopes up, he might have been told, don't say we're definitely doing it and whatnot. And realistically, they're probably going to wait to see what happens and where everything goes regarding the Batman Part 2. Especially if it picks up very shortly after the end of season 1. Now, again, we know the next movie is this winter setting, and winter was starting to set in by the end of season 1 of The Penguin. You know, it started to snow. We saw that, and then of course the bat signal pops up at the very end and stuff. We know Colin Farrell will be in the Batman Part 2, although a smaller role than he had in the first one. At least he says it's a smaller role, but when you hear the amount of stuff he says, it kind of goes back in line of you pretty much have the same amount as you did in the first one. But he says he has a slightly smaller role in that one. So the question then, of course, with the Batman Part 2 is, what does the power structure of the city look like? Because if Oz in the Penguin became the kingpin of Gotham, and he's not going to play this massive role, or at least a bigger role, in the Batman Part 2, who is going to be in there? That's the big question. And of course, the speculation is, and because it's been hinted at very much so, not just by Matt Reeves recently, but throughout the first movie, that Hush will be the big bad for the next one. Of course, again, people think it's going to be Mr. Freeze. It won't be. But what kind of players are we going to see being introduced in the crime world, with the fact that Oz is meant to be the kingpin now, that he's in charge, that he pretty much wiped out everyone? And of course, we know Sophia is in Arkham. So where will that go? Will that go anywhere? Will there be reference to it? Now, it will suck if that doesn't, and there's indications that that mightn't go anywhere, but that would be, in my opinion, a mistake, seeing as you're setting it up for something with the movie. To ignore it in the movie would be a bit weird to do, but we'll have to wait and see. But he is confirming, of course, that yes, we all knew, and it is correct, that the movie does take place shortly after the first movie and, of course, the Penguin series. And now, of course, he's talking about what's going to happen with season 2, where he's saying they're already thinking up stories. He doesn't think it'll happen, but at the same time, that's not by much. So it's like, it's basically him saying, I'm going to say no, but it's very possibly going to be happening. So he's probably told to say that. We'll wait and see. But it's an interesting take, what he says about Penguin Season 2. I would love to see it, providing you can do exactly what you did with the first season. And it's going to be really interesting to see how exactly they connect all the dots from the first movie to the Penguin Season 1 into the Batman Part 2, and what does that create for a possible Penguin Season 2. Time will tell. But with that, what do you guys think? Are you interested in obviously in seeing the Season 2 of the Penguin? No doubt the majority of you would be. Or what do you think about the time setting being officially confirmed there by Colin Farrell for the Batman Part 2? Let me know. And with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So do like, share, subscribe and all that good stuff. Cheers. I'll catch you in the next one.